Hey guys, just wanted to give you a heads up on the week's technical project. TP4 has a section that says to watch the weekly recording or join the live meeting, but chances are that we're not going to get that done this week in time to help some folks out with the assignment. So I'm going to record a quick little video walkthrough on what I meant with that. Chances are, if your laptop or desktop even isn't got a super fast hard drive, lots of RAM, discrete graphics card, then it's going to run a little bit slow on that stitching part of the assignment. So I want to walk through a way to speed things up a little bit. So I've got Tech Project 4 open here. We're going to skip ahead to part 2 of the assignment. It says to go into Bridge, go to Tools, Photoshop, Photo Merge. So I'm going to jump over to Bridge and show you where that is just so that you know. So I've got some of the images loaded up here. Here's my folder with all the stuff. And if I just scroll through and shift click at the end, I just selected all 51 images, and I can go click on Tools at the top, Photoshop, and Photo Merge. So that's going to allow me to stitch it using automated pretty much everything from start to finish. Jumping from Bridge, it'll open up Photoshop and go from there. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to show you the other way around here. So let's go straight to Photoshop here. Now we're going to go File, Automate, and we could go to Photo Merge here. That's going to allow us to do exactly what we did from Bridge. We'll just choose what we want to do in here instead of choosing the images in Bridge. But I'm not going to do that. I want to go to Scripts here and do Load Files into Stack instead. So if you're running into crashes, if it's freezing, if it's taking forever and ever to stitch those files, then this is what you want to do. File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack. And this command, all it does is it's going to take all your images and it's going to load them each onto an individual layer within the same file. So we're breaking apart that photo merge command into its component parts. So let me browse and make sure I get those images loaded up here. I have them saved somewhere on my computer, hopefully. TP4. Too many subfolders. There we go. Okay. So here's all my images. I will Control Command A to select them all, hit OK. See the load up here. Make sure you don't check this box to create Smart Object after loading layers. Attempt to automatically align source images. We're going to do that, but I'm going to do it in a second step. So again, we're breaking this apart into the highest number of individual steps. It's more complicated, but it definitely reduces the computing power that you need. So we'll hit OK. And Photoshop's just going to run for a minute, and it's going to load up all these images. I should have had it running, but it goes pretty quick. So we'll just give that a second, and I'm going to walk you through the next part. So whenever we're stitching a job like this, let's say we have a whole bunch of images to stick together, you're going to need to allow Photoshop to line them up. And then once they're aligned, that'll correct for distortion and things from shot to shot. But you also want to stitch to get seamless tones and colors. So those are our two main steps that we're going to do. So I'll scroll down on my layers panel here and find the very bottom of the stack, shift click, and I just selected them all. It's important that they're selected, otherwise they won't be included in the stitch. Go to Edit, Auto Align. We could have done that in that previous step, but we're going to just do it now. I'm going to leave everything else unchecked here. Again, we want to reduce the steps that Photoshop is going to process automatically. So all we want to do is align those layers. Perspective is going to work for how this was shot. If you're curious, you can look into these alignment modes, but I'm just going to leave it on auto, and just so you know, it's going to perform perspective stitch. So we'll hit OK. And it shouldn't take very long at all in this case, but your mileage will vary. This machine that I'm recording this on is pretty fast, and it's trickling along here, but let's see how it goes. Usually it'll just kind of jump to the end here after just a minute, but I might pause the video and come back just so this recording is not too long. Okay, so now we've not stitched, sorry, that's not done yet, but we have automatically aligned them. So you can see that each individual image has been distorted and warped quite a bit so that they match up, but it doesn't look right, obviously. So there's a lot to go here still. So if I haven't done anything else yet, all my layers are still selected in the layers panel. And now I'm going to go back to edit, just where I was while everything's selected, and choose auto blend layers. Again, uncheck everything that says content or fill. This time, normally, like I said before, the concept here is we're breaking this apart into the simplest steps possible. Blend mode panorama, and you do want to keep seamless tones and colors checked. So make sure that box is checked. That's the whole purpose of blending these layers. Hit OK. And that, again, is running pretty quick here. Give it just a second. All right. So now it's fairly seamless. If you look over in my image area in the image window, then it's pretty good. You can't see any seams or anything. If you look really close, sometimes you will. Those are typically just graphics issues that when you complete the next step, it'll take care of it. So if you see those little squiggly seams in between those, at this point, don't worry. But it depends on a few things. It's nothing to be concerned about. But you can see there's a layer mask on all these layers. And if I show one of those layer masks, that's what was done to this particular image 18. And that's image 14. Just a tiny little portion of that image was even used, but Photoshop just found the areas and tones and textures that matched up and created a seamless composite of all those 51 photos. So now let's move on. I'm pretty much done with the stitching part of things. I'm just going to make sure I select all these layers. Oops. There's probably a keyboard shortcut to select all layers. There we go. So I selected all my layers, and this is the one time where you would want to merge those. You can't complete the next step unless you merge the layers. Don't flatten it. Merge those layers. Now we end up with just a single thing, and our file size is going to go a lot down. Photoshop will run normal speed again. It won't be all bogged down and slow, but you're good there. So we have this one image, and the next part of the assignment asks us to complete some corrections on the distortion there. So that's where you're going to use the adaptive wide angle filter and do that. And it's automatically going to recognize the panorama stitching and take care of a large portion of that, but there's still a bit to go. So from there, just you're going to walk through and straighten out portions of this image that need straightening. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So if you've been stuck on this assignment because your computer's not quite up to speed, don't worry. It's fairly easy to fix, but you got to know all those little bitty steps there. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll leave the adaptive wide angle filtering part to you guys. Have a good one.